You see, I was born with this thing called polio. My parents were told I would never walk, I would never run, and I would never play like other children. That was the diagnosis. Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to Stepping Stones to Your Success. This is Garland, and tonight we're going to go into critical management skill number 59, which is never accept the first diagnosis. Let me tell you a quick personal story about the fight to walk. Every leader, every entrepreneur, every parent, and every manager will eventually face a diagnosis. Not necessarily a medical diagnosis, but a business diagnosis, a leadership diagnosis, a performance diagnosis, a prediction about what is possible and what is not. Today's critical management skill is simple. Never accept the first diagnosis. Let me tell you a quick story that taught me that lesson. Part one is called the prediction. You see, I was born with this thing called polio. My parents were told I would never walk, I would never run, and I would never play like other children. That was the diagnosis. And to be fair, it came from people that knew far more than we did. Doctors, experts, and professionals. People who spent years studying situations exactly like mine. But my parents did something remarkable. They never told me. They told me something completely different. They said, Garland, you've been blessed with this body that God's given you. You're not here to survive. You are here to thrive. And from that day forward, they went to work. So part two is the search. My parents didn't ignore the experts. They listened, they learned, and they followed instructions. But they also understood something that many leaders forget. A diagnosis is information, but it is not destiny. So they searched for the best doctors, the best surgeons, the best therapists, the best coaches, and the best mentors. And after years of operations, rehabilitation, setbacks, frustration, pain, blood, sweat, and tears, a remarkable thing happened. I learned how to walk. I learned how to run. And I learned how to kick pretty good too. Part three is the business parallel. Over the years, I've discovered that businesses receive diagnoses every day. Things like, this store will never recover. That employee is not leadership material. The department is broken. Sales will never come back. The competition is too strong, and the market won't support it. The problem is not the diagnosis. The problem is the leaders accepting the diagnosis as a conclusion. Because the moment that happens, people stop searching, they stop innovating, they stop developing, they stop believing, and growth dies. Part four is the difference. One day, my martial arts instructor looked at what many people considered a crippled body. He saw the same body everybody else saw, the same limitations, the same challenges, and the same obstacles. But he saw something else, too. He saw potential. He saw possibilities. He saw opportunity. And through years of training, discipline, coaching, and belief, that same body eventually became a 4-time world champion. The diagnosis never changed. The outcome did. And that's what great leaders do. They see what is, but they also see what could be. Part five is the law. I have learned something over the years. The great leaders are not the people that ignore reality. They are the people that refuse to surrender to it. They listen to the facts. They study the facts. They respect the facts. They never allow today's facts to define tomorrow's possibilities. I have seen associates become department managers. I have seen department managers become store managers. I have seen struggling stores become winning stores. I've seen people accomplish things that they themselves never believed possible. Not because obstacles disappear, but because somebody refused to accept the diagnosis as the final answer. Because every breakthrough begins with someone looking at a difficult situation and saying, there has to be another way. The closing is this: never accept the first diagnosis, whether it comes from a report, a performance review, a market analysis, a teacher, a coach, or even a doctor. Listen carefully. Learn everything you can. But remember, a diagnosis tells you where you are today. It does not determine where you can be tomorrow. Because great leaders do not build their future on limitations. They build their future on possibilities. And sometimes the difference between average and extraordinary is simply refusing to believe that impossible is the final answer. You see, that's how most people think. They hear the diagnosis, they accept the diagnosis, and then they stop. But you and I are not most people. Now are we? So that brings us up to speed on critical management skill number 59, which is never accept the first diagnosis. Have a great rest of your evening. All the best to your family, and I'll be back to you real soon.